So this has been my journey over the past little while. Over the past year, I've felt more uncomfortable, more scared than any other time in my life. Over this past year, I've grown and learned more about myself than any other time in my life. And I've gone through what has been called the dark night of the soul. I started off the year in a place of questioning everything I knew. I was raised in a Christian background, and I really held on to those beliefs very tightly. Always questioned them deeply, but always managed to find something that justified what I believed. And as I began to peel back even more layers, I was never really completely satisfied with what I was told or what I understood. I began to see a lot of inconsistencies in what I believed. Not projecting that onto anyone else, but what I personally believed, I could see a lot of inconsistencies and holes in that belief system. So I started to journey deeper and ask really big questions. And what that ended up doing was blowing open basically my whole mind. Like my whole life, I believed and seen things a particular way. And so when I started to unpack that and blow that apart, it was like losing my identity. It's one of the most painful experiences of my life. But as I continued to go down that rabbit hole and I continued to journey in that direction of authenticity for myself and ask those questions that I wasn't really satisfied with the answers that I'd received up until that point, yes, it began to get more and more painful, and my life began to feel more and more void. But in an attempt to find the truth, I was totally committed to finding whatever was true. And so it took me through this period of what I would call nihilism, N-I-H-I-L-S-M, where I literally didn't believe that there was anything. I believed that there was literally nothing beyond what I could directly experience here and now. And this is what's called by many an existential void. I fell into an existential void. And that was a very depressing place. That was a very bleak place. And I actually found myself wishing that I could believe something, wishing that I could come up with something that I could believe beyond this three-dimensional physical reality that we see around us. Because to me, this idea that the world and the entire universe is just this three-dimensional physical place was very depressing for me. The idea that I was just going to die someday and that was just it was extremely depressing, and it kind of stripped my life of meaning. And I know a lot of people can exist with that belief system, and I've got to say I'm very I really applaud people who can exist like that, because it's an amazing thing to be able to just believe that and be okay with that. But for me, that was terrifying, completely terrifying. Something in me knows, there's something in me that I literally can't get rid of. It's almost like a psychological virus that tells me there is more to this existence than just this life in the physical that we experience here and now. Something that I literally can't purge from my soul. I sometimes wish I could, and I've tried very hard to get that idea out of me and just be content with this idea that there's only the here and now, that there's nothing more, there's no spiritual dimension. But I literally couldn't get rid of that. And so as I continued to ask stupid questions, big questions that other people would just tell me to stop asking, when other people would just tell me stop seeking the truth, like that you'll never know the truth, you can't know the truth, it just goes on forever and ever. As I ignored that and I continued to ask questions and I continued to put myself through the hell of being uncertain, which is one of the most painful things you can do, I think, on a psychological sense. Being uncertain is one of the most painful things for a human being, because as creatures that tend to want to make ourselves survive, our survival is based on having certainty, and we default to that position of seeking out certainty. So for me, letting go of that certainty and living in a state of uncertainty, willingly putting myself into that state, was one of the most uncomfortable things I've ever gone through, the most uncomfortable thing I've ever gone through. But as I continued to do it because I was so certain on one level, there was this part of me, like I said, that I just couldn't get rid of, that just knew there was more out there. As I continued to ask the questions, I eventually broke through, and I realized, and I found some evidence, and I found some information that showed me with a great deal more certainty, that filled in those gaps that I had before, that there was more, that there is more to this universe, that there is more to our lives than meets the eye. So I just want to say, for anyone who's going through this process, for anyone who's going through the process of seeking truth, and your current belief system, the current belief system that you hold now isn't satisfactory to you, there's something missing from it, and it's not a matter of it's just uncomfortable, so I don't want to believe it, whatever your belief system is. It's a matter of there's something missing here, and I know there's an answer. And you're not willing to just fill in the gaps of what you believe with just any old answer. You're determined to seek the truth. What I'd say to you is that it is worth the uncertainty, it's worth the discomfort, it's worth the emotional turmoil of going through that dark night of the soul. Do yourself and everyone around you and this world the greatest service by staying committed to finding the truth, whatever it takes, by asking those uncomfortable questions, by going through the physical, mental, emotional discomfort of questioning everything you believe until you find the answer or the answers that truly resonate with you on the deepest level. Because the answers I'm starting to find now are resonating with me on the deepest level. And it's like I've just jumped this huge chasm. It's like I was standing on this side of security and comfort before, of everything I grew up believing, everything I understood through my previous belief system and way of looking at the world, which was Christianity. And then I went through that whole agnostic stage and just completely open stage. And then I got right up to the edge of the precipice where I had to completely let go of everything and have my beliefs stripped back. And I jumped off that precipice in search of the truth. And for a long time, what seemed like a long time, in reality it's been about 9 or so months of just total uncertainty and really not knowing what the hell's going on, to now where I'm just starting to grab the edge of the cliff on the other side, and I'm just starting to feel like I'm starting to understand things as they really are on a very deep level, like I never have before. And it is so worth it. It is so beautiful looking back on that process and going, my goodness, I'm so glad I went through that. There were times when I just wanted to die, like many times when I was literally like, my life is not worth living. But I'm so glad that I persevered. And I just want to say the same to you if you're on this journey. Persevere, keep seeking the truth, and you will get there. You'll find the answers. So that's just a bit of my journey so far. I'm going to be filling that in with a lot more detail in videos to come. But I just want to encourage you with that message of love, encouragement, light. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. Hope you enjoyed that. Hope you got something from that. Namaste.